the Regional Director of the Minority Business Assistance Center. We provide technical assistance, certification preparation. If you are interested in doing business with the state of Ohio or the city of Columbus and other local entities, we help you prepare for the MBE or EDGE certification. We also provide training, which is what we have here today, and one-on-one virtual assistance, free technical assistance, so free counseling if you are having issues with your business or you want to start and grow your business. So that's what we do at the MBAC Center. I'm so excited today because I have one of my mentors here today. So I'm a little biased, let's just put it that way. So I have Dr. Cooper here is going to share her insights, especially as women-owned entrepreneurs and how we navigate through the process in terms of COVID-19 and obviously all the other issues that we're having in our community, the racial unrest, and how we need to rise above all that's going on to one, focus on what we do best, and that's working in our business, as well as keeping our health intact at the same process. Let's talk a little bit about Dr. Cooper. One of the things that Dr. Cooper has done for us in the community and her long-standing career path in entrepreneurship. She is the owner of JustAskIris, an entrepreneur coaching firm specializing in food enterprises and products. For those who do not know, Dr. Cooper is one of the founders of Glory Foods Incorporated, a multi-million-dollar food marketing company. Yes, I did say that correctly, Glory Foods, and has launched several successful enterprises during her career. She is recognized nationally as a business strategy and branding expert, having coached many startups to sustainability. Iris is the former director of the Ohio Division of Entrepreneurship and Small Business, where Iris led the state from 29th worst place for small businesses in 2007 to the 9th best in the nation and first in the Midwest in 4 years. So she knows her stuff. Iris recently received the Amos Lynch Legacy Award from Champions of Diversity and the Sharon Burke Soar Award from Franklin County Children's Services for her advocacy work in Central Ohio. She's a published author, she's a featured writer, a keynote speaker on a variety of topics, and adjunct professor at Franklin University. She has many contributions to entrepreneur and now included in the History Makers Collection at the Smithsonian Institute. You held that out on me, Dr. Cooper? She's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Central Ohio chapter, and the Indiana University Alumni Association. Good to know that her DBA is from Walden University in entrepreneurship, and her doctoral study was focused on small business mortality and entitled The First 4 Years, a Small Business Sustainability Study. So you have got the right person in place today. Dr. Cooper, welcome. Welcome, Dr. I, as they call you. We are so excited that you are here today. Just know for individuals who weren't able to come in, this is going to be recorded and we're going to be sending it out to our database as well. So people who have missed it today. But I am delighted to have you here, of course, as usual. And just wanted to see just your insight on what's going on during the unrest and COVID-19 and what your assessment is prior to COVID-19 for women-owned businesses, and then what you think the landscape going forward for us after COVID-19, or how do we cope with this all together?
Thank you, Kimberly, and thank you, Sharon, and all my buddies at the Urban League and the Minority Business Assistance Center. Is my voice okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Absolutely.
I am thrilled to be here because I have really struggled with this isolation, and to be able to connect even as we are right now is a big plus. I don't know how the rest of the audience is, but I'm one of those individuals that receives energy from other people's energy. So I guess I was I'm in the right field, because entrepreneurs have a lot of energy and a lot of optimism, and I like being around them because it makes me feel a lot more energetic. So I'm grateful to be here today, and I can tell you that as a baby boomer, this is truly the most challenging time in my life. And I can remember when my parents, who were involved in the community in Evansville, Indiana, in the NAACP, were fighting for civil rights when I was a little girl. I can remember them crying when Martin Luther King died at the
Right.
church. I can remember the 60s and the protest movement. I was in elementary school then, and it colored my decision to leave a predominantly white high school and go to Fisk University, so I could learn more about who I was, because the schools did not tell me who I was. They told me who I wasn't. And
Right.
so when I look back on the last 3 or 4 decades, this is a point in time that we have to seize, control, and redirect. And that's across every industry. It's across every part of this society. We have lost our way, and we've got to get back on track. And business is a place that we have to do it as well.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little background about how you even got involved in your entrepreneurship experience, especially as it relates to Glory Foods? Would love to hear the backdrop on how that came about.
Well, I've got to start back in Evansville. My dad had a part-time catering business, and he had a day job as a chauffeur, and then he served parties and cooked food for white people at night and on the weekends. So he was gone a lot. And my mother was the first Black Avon lady in Evansville, Indiana. So she was a social worker by day, but she could put lipstick on and put you some makeup on while you were sitting there talking to her. She was a consummate salesperson. And it didn't hurt that she kind of looked like Lena Horne, so she played it
Okay.
up real
She
well.
played that really well.
Yes, she did. She did. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. And I went to college and got a degree in journalism, which kind of led me into marketing a little bit. Got my MBA in marketing, and that's where I met Charles Lazarus. Charles Lazarus is one of the founders of the Lazarus department store chain.
Mhm.
And he came to my class, my marketing distribution class at Indiana University, and I was the only Black female in the class, maybe the only Black person in the class, and sat the first row, the third seat. So you weren't going to miss me. And I was going to be able to answer all the review questions, because I had to fight for that position with all these white boys. So after the course was over, he asked me, did I have a job? And I said, no, not really, nothing that I'm interested in. He says, I want you to come and see my store. And I flew over to Columbus, Ohio from Indianapolis. And I thought I had died and gone to heaven when I walked in that store. It felt like the mannequins were telling me, you need to be here, girl. You've been living in the sticks all these years. And I just fell in love with the drama, with the emotion, with the decor. I fell in love with everything. And so he offered me a job in retail as a retail trainee, which I truly hated. But when you come out of the MBA program, you got a big head. You think
Right.
you're supposed to be running the store. And I
Right.
was in the warehouse. I was in the warehouse putting together toilet seats and mirrors for the bath shop.
Oh my
But
goodness.
I learned retail from the inside out. And that was by design. You got to know your industry from the inside out, not just what looks pretty on the outside.
Absolutely.
And so, at any rate, that's where I met my partners, future partners on Glory Foods, because I was mentored by Charles Lazarus. I spent 3 months in the bath shop, and I became the marketing manager for the food division after that. Do you think
Awesome.
people were mad? They're like, who is she? And yes, I was in charge of 11 restaurants, all of their marketing, advertising, and public relations.
Wow.
And yeah, it could only happen in like a storybook or something. But when you come out of nowhere and you're in charge of the marketing, there's some haters out there. And most,
Absolutely.
and most of them, if not all of them, were men. So
Okay.
that's how I met my partners at Glory Foods. Two of them were in management in the food division, including Bill Williams, who founded it. And he wasn't a hater. He was a collaborator and a friend. But trust me, the others were not my fans.
Okay. So you was able to go in there, learn the business,
Mhm,
and take it and turn it into something that you want to make of your own.
mhm.
That's exciting. I never heard that story.
I
I'm just like, I'm just bubbly all inside. Just like, that's
Yeah,
just so amazing.
yeah.
So take me to, some of the challenging things that you experienced through that journey, once you got into the business, and some turbulence times and some challenging times. Oftentimes, we understand that women-owned businesses, Black particular women-owned businesses, are growing at an enormous rate, and they were before COVID-19 happened. And I gotta attest it to a lot of different reasons as to why, but I'll let you kind of touch on to why are we growing so much? Why is entrepreneurship such an attractive feature for us as African American women and women of color, entrepreneurs of color? Why is that such an attractive feature for us today?
If possible, could you share my slide show?
Sure.
Okay, so I can stay on point here. Okay, we can go to the second slide. Okay, COVID, or the Rona, as we call it in my neighborhood. Women-owned businesses have been on a growth streak for the last 5 years, really ever since the last recession. And up until 2019, everything looked wonderful. The number of women-owned businesses grew 21% from 2014, and the numbers for African American women grew even faster. Why was that? Well, we certainly had the right person in the White House. We certainly had support from a number of businesses that were really serious about supplier diversity. And I remember when I was at the state, we had an engagement for female entrepreneurs that was ongoing, that was hands-on, and that was deliberate, because we wanted to give women who had traditionally been housewives or teachers or nurses options. And entrepreneurship was definitely an option that many women wanted to pursue. And just as a side note, during this time, this was the recession. This was not like what we're going through now. This was pretty much strictly economic. And women were losing their jobs. They were struggling to support their families. And there wasn't a pandemic in the environment, but globally we were in trouble, and we were trying everything we could at the state to be able to salvage and repackage some of the businesses that were struggling. So then now we got the Rona coming on, and nobody knew what was happening. Didn't even know what a coronavirus was. Had never been through a pandemic. Just out of nowhere, we were in like one of those sci-fi comic book worlds. And then in addition to that, the veil was pulled off of all of the discrimination and the blatant racism that we had been enduring and fighting, and some of us trying to ignore over the last decade. So we were caught between a cyclone and a tornado as Black women and Black women entrepreneurs. It hit everything all at once, no warning, no definition, and truly, we never got to the point of building the plane while we flew it. We were headed downward as soon as we learned about it. Next slide. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. So let me just pause here and talk about a business that did not survive the recession. This is one of my businesses, Pyramid Mortgage Company. And I started this business before the recession. I was a mortgage broker, and I would go out and get mortgage applications from self-employed individuals, as well as your traditional mortgage customer. Here comes the recession, and one industry that eventually will destroy every other industry is real estate. I did not know that. When real estate falls apart, you better believe that sooner or later the rest of them are going to fall apart, because real estate is housing, it's construction, it's all of those businesses that are connected to growth. I didn't know that. So all of a sudden, during 2009 or 10, I believe, 10, I had no investors for my mortgages for self-employed people because they were going out of business. And the horrible thing about an economic downturn is that it brings out all of the goblins and the witches and the monsters who had ill intent to begin with. They see that as an opportunity. So there was a lot of fraud and a lot of fake news going on right then. And to be honest, I was not prepared for it. I did not realize that when a recession hits, it's like a virus. It can feed into other industries and you don't even know it. So the lesson learned here was I didn't understand that industry's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats when I went into it, because I only looked at the pieces that I wanted to see. I didn't want to see the risk and the threats, and that's why I had to shut it down.
I gotta stop right here, Dr.
Okay,
Cooper.
okay.
You said a real thing. You said SWOT. You said strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
That's
And for
right.
those of you who are not familiar with that term, when you do your business plan or you're doing your analysis or you're doing a strategic plan, you have to prepare for what if certain things happen in your business. And a recession is one of them, but also, like you said before, understanding your industry and knowing how to maneuver and really understand the industry that you're in. And so thank you for that. Because if you don't understand the landscape or even the economic downturns or things that you cannot control, like the recession or a pandemic, and how to maneuver around that, it makes a big difference. I was in the grocery store the other day and I was just fussing. I said, we need to be protesting on this, the increase in food. I don't know why anybody have said anything about why this chicken is so high. Like, what is going on? But if you look at all the different things that's going on with the pandemic, people in the meat markets that's getting the pandemic and they're getting the coronavirus and they're sick and all of this and the delays. I think one of the grocery stores, I kept saying, there's no chicken. What's going on? You know, a week go by. I'm like, I know everybody just didn't buy up all the chicken. What is really going doing? And so you have to look at what goes around you. I guess I say that in a laughing manner, but you have to kind of know the industry and not just what's going on in your world and in your business, but what's going on economically and how it affects your business in every way.
Mhm. And not just nationally, globally. That's
Globally,
another lesson I
absolutely.
learned this year. You think the United States is over here on the map by itself, away from all them other European countries? No.
Yeah.
When we're asleep, they're having meetings and
Yep.
they are making decisions about our lives and how they're going to control us. I could just slap myself. That's another lesson that I didn't learn in Evansville, Indiana. That Evansville, Indiana was a part of a much larger strategy economically to the whole rest of the world.
And the whole rest of the world.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Danielle said, I'm here. You local farmers are the answer, girl. I get you. I know we need to
Hi,
start eating all this
Danielle.
meat,
You
eating well.
doing? Yeah, I know Danielle.
Right,
Okay.
right. So what are some if you had to give us some, your top tier advice right now for those who are in the midst of this mess? What should we do, Iris? What should we do? How do we know to hold on to those businesses? How do we know when to exit those business and pivot to maybe something different? What's that time where we have to really just make changes quickly? What's your thoughts?
Well, if we can go to the next slide, I kind of outlined some issues that Black women need to think about. We tend to try to focus on one thing at a time. And yes, you can't spread your eggs out in too many baskets. I get that. But when your main squeeze business goes under, you're going to kick yourself if you didn't have a diversification plan or a plan B that you could pull out of the closet and put in motion quickly. Why does this happen? Well, it's because once you get in business, you kind of forget about what you should be doing with marketing research. You can't do marketing research once. It's not a one and done kind of activity. It's a daily activity.
That's right.
And we would know what happened to them chickens, Kim, if we paid attention to what the chickens were saying. The chickens were telling us that they were getting put away and they were getting sick and all that kind of stuff.
But then they came back real big. I said I didn't buy chicken for a long time because I was like, something not right with that chicken.
That's right. I think they're turkeys. I really think they're turkeys in disguise.
Yeah, someone right with that chicken. I'm with Danielle, girl. Someone right with that chicken.
Now there's some other factors that we need to take into consideration as Black women. Black women are when they talk about intersectionality and they're talking about gender, we are intersectional because we try to be everything that we can to help everybody else out. We are cooks. We are caregivers. We are social workers for the community. We are the church women. We are there for everybody else but ourselves. And we seldom have time to really look critically at our path until somebody calls us out about it. And saying you're just working too much, or you need to take some time off for yourself. We need to start doing that and use that time wisely to look at where you are in your SWOT analysis. Are you being compensated appropriately for what you do? Are you prepared for the next turn in the economy? The only way you can do that is take time out to study the market and your customer, not just your customer, but your suppliers, your competitors, your other stakeholders in the market. Now, something blew me away, and I knew it blew you away, Kim, too, was how did nonprofits and big corporations get the PPP money before Joe Blow on Long Street.
We know how, and we know why.
It's who you know. And I can tell
Absolutely.
you, as a former banker, if there was a contest and I was going to win it, I called the big boys in, the customers that had lots of dollars in the bank and would borrow money on their line of credit because I was going to win that contest.
Mhm.
And seldom, sadly, was it a Black person or a woman that put me over. And that's by design. Bankers
Yes.
are compensated by growth, and they're not going to grow with the mom and pops. That's why Joe Blow on Long Street didn't even know anything
Right.
about the PPP program. And that's why Ruth Chris of a food business knew about it, because her banker told her about it before it even hit the newspaper.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So we don't have the luxury as Black women, in most cases, to do the marketing research or have the connections that our competitors have. So we have to be vigilant about the market and what our place is in the market. And when the market looks like it's going a different direction, we need to be out in front of that, know about it, and begin to tweak our business model to be able to sustain it. The next reason, and I'm one of these people, I get emotional about changes in my life. And I will get a feeling about something and want to go with the feeling rather than going with the facts. And we have to separate those two things when we're running businesses. It may feel good today, but maybe down the road or in some other little niche somewhere, there's a weakness. There's a business a business model that's cracking because of, let's say, foreign intervention, or there's a government regulation that's coming on board that's going to hurt the possibility of growth. We've got to take that time to be as smart as we can about where we are in the industry. And then finally, and this is the most difficult one of all, keeping family and business separate. And that's why, because we're single moms or we're head of household and we're taking care of family, we're taking care of the PTA, and now with children home, oh my gosh, I feel for women that are operating businesses now with having school online. It's going to be really, really hard to focus unless you just lock yourself in the basement or something, and then you're neglecting your children. So we've got some very, very difficult roads ahead of us.
If any of you guys have any questions, feel free to put in the chat box. And you're right. I know that, this is where our resiliency, resides, where we do multiple things at the same time. And you're right. I think this era in time, in terms of the pandemic and the racial unrest that's going on in the country, it just adds on the pile of things that we already were maneuvering around as a woman business owned person, doing everything and multitasking with family, and that on top
Absolutely.
of changes a lot. One of the things, Dr. Cooper, I've seen some really great women-owned businesses pivot their businesses to other options. Perhaps they were doing IT technology, or were doing some other types of business, but now provide PPE equipment for other businesses, and have pivoted their business to kind of, they saw a need, they saw a service, they saw where they can infiltrate in right at that moment. They didn't waste any time. And then on the other end, I've seen entrepreneurs who have said, you know what, I have a transportation business, and you know what, I got to close. There's no way around that. I can't wait. Have entered back into the workforce and say, hey, I didn't close it. I just know that at this moment in time, I can't, operate during this, stances of what's going on in reality. So talk about those hard decisions. Like, it is important not to take it emotionally and not to take it. And some things happen and it's just not our fault. There's a lot of businesses that are in position. I was reading about, it was like 40 retail shops that have filed bankruptcy. Some of the ones that we've shopped at have already filed. And then, who could have predicted that?
Again, it's about research. When the economy has some weaknesses, you better believe that somebody's going to take advantage of whatever those weaknesses are. I think that you're going to see more people being sole proprietors of selling things online.
Yes,
Amazon's
absolutely.
making a killing. Amazon's making a lot of money off of me. Oh my gosh. Whenever I want something, I'll just go to Amazon. Online sales, it's just click a button and I have packages upstairs I haven't even opened yet. It's like Christmas when they come and deliver them to your house. And so if you had a product or service, a product that you couldn't sell here, maybe you need to consider sending it to Costa Rica or somewhere. Think international. And I know you all can help them with those kinds of strategies. There's a customer somewhere in this world. If you just open up your eyes a little bit wider and think broadly about who might want this product. Now, certain things have shelf life, and I get that, but there is somebody somewhere that would want whatever it is that you're selling, but you got to find them. That takes marketing research. That takes time. And that kind of goes back to knowing about your industry before you even get deep into it. Correct. You ought to know who those customers are, not just nationally, but globally, who will buy things like this. I never got into international trade, but I've been around banks long enough to know that they make a lot of money off of international trade.
Absolutely.
There's risk, but you got to know the risk in any industry. So one thing I would advise is find out where your customers are, not just in Ohio, but maybe there's somewhere else that you might get in touch with them. Then look at complementary products to yours. Let's say, for example, you were in the restaurant business and you are an expert at, let's say, culinary type, equipment, pots and pans and those kinds of things. Well, you could be a distributor for a company that sells pots and pans. You certainly can talk about them. You don't have to learn the lingo. You can be an excellent salesperson until things turn around.
Absolutely.
You got to just kind of take your blinders off, take the stress away, because when you're under stress, and I'm an expert with that, when you're under stress, you don't think clearly. You don't give your mind the freedom to wander. Especially when you're in a house living with family that's stressed out and the mailman hadn't come yet and got to get my car in the shop, and all those earthly kinds of stressors can take you away from the necessary time to dream.
It takes you away from really being seen clearly from what you really need to accomplish. And sometimes we have to step back and have that. Or, I tell people of being modest and suffering alone. That's why the Columbus MBAC is here. There's other resources that if we don't know the answer, we're going to direct you to the right answer, and having that business advisor to kind of talk to or walk through some of those things. It's so funny. I got a few calls on the weekend and it's just like, girl, I didn't even apply for the PPE. Why not? Like, I get every penny, dollar, cent you can get right now.
Absolutely.
But just being humble about the whole process and not believing that they even can get the level of trust in the banking institutions, the level of trust of being in this system that really didn't care for us as often anyway. So I understand the anxiety around, I'm not going to get helped anyway. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Your
But
ego
that's
is
why,
down.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And so that's what we're here for, is to help guide people through those difficult times. And so, yeah, it's a struggle in itself. Um, but it's an analogy, like taking it to somebody and say, what do I need to do? I need help. And I think as women, that's the key word. I
Mhm.
need help. You
And
know,
we're expected to do everything all at once, perfectly. And I don't know if that came from a personal um, vision as a single mom, that I had to keep everything going, you know. Um,
right.
and so now sometimes it's hard for me to ask for help when I've been playing Superwoman all these years, you know. And everybody's thinking, oh, she can do this and that and whatever. And they have no idea. Like today, I'm getting ready for this. I was a complete mess. I knocked my coffee over, all over the floor, almost burned up my dogs trying to get ready for this today. Had it an hour wrong, but I'm at a point in my life where I don't care. I'm not Superwoman. I'm just trying to do a little bit better today than I did
And I
yesterday.
did yesterday. I did
Yeah,
one day
yeah,
at a time, as they
yeah.
say. That's right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Someone says, I love when you said know your industry inside and out. I have a cleaning company, and since COVID-19 hit, I'm not able to network as much. Also,
Mhm.
I have pending contracts on hold as well due to the pandemic. I have a question. How can I get a mentor in my industry?
Well, the only thing we really have now is social media. Um, you can't just pick up a phone book and call anybody anymore like they did in the old days. So I would get on the internet with keywords and just do a search. And then once you land on some possibilities, make sure you do research on their credibility and their respectability, because there's some scammers out there making a whole lot of money on suffering people right now. I
Right.
mean, there are people that are advertising renting homes that they don't own, hoping you will send them deposits on
Mm,
Craigslist.
mm.
Yes. And they have all the information on phone number and everything. So there's a lot of scammers out there now. So beware of that. But that's all we have is social work right now.
Right.
I mean,
And
social
faithful,
media.
and we are always willing to help make connections as well. You reach out to the MBAC Center. Pretty soon we'll be launching through the work that Jay Avery is doing. Is going to also be doing a business directory of Black businesses and
That's
other Black
right.
businesses. And
Mhm.
so they'll be able to kind of go on there and kind of connect with other businesses. Another thing that's really just taken off, and I don't know if you've seen this, is a group from Facebook called Columbus Black Owned Businesses. When I
Mhm.
tell you that people aren't playing, they're not
Mhm.
playing. In this particular group, people have made it up in their mind, I am going to patronize Black owned
Mhm.
businesses only. They trying
Mhm.
to find restaurants when they need something before they go purchase it. They
Mhm.
ask the question, look, I'm looking for a Black owned cleaning company,
I
clean my
see that.
clothes. I'm looking
Mhm.
for a doctor that's an OBGYN. I'm looking for, and people are responding. I think it's one of the greatest things. I'm like, are we there yet? Are we
Mhm.
finally there yet where we are going to support each other? I'm loving every bit of it. I just get tickled inside because this is the kind of collaboration and collectiveness that we need right now, is to
Mhm.
support each other this time. I've seen business owners come on and say thank you for the overwhelming response for coming and making orders or doing those types of things.
Mhm.
So if I would encourage you guys to go on Facebook, it's Columbus Black Owned Businesses Group, and you can find all kind of connections through that way. Now, Sandra Moody Gresham
That's
says,
another one of my girlfriends.
she said, Iris was critical in assisting me in business during a challenging time in 2008. She said, I never will forget your suggestion to focus on that which I want to keep was most important. I appreciate you, my friend. Find someone you can trust for credible expertise.
I got to pause right there because Sandra and I were, and this is pertinent. Sandra and I were on a board together in the 80s that had to do with minority businesses. And that was when Mayor LaShutka was in charge. And we were sitting there, it was a minority business group. And it was almost like we were in like a mystery show on TV. There was so much going on behind the scenes we were trying to keep up with. And is that what that meant? We were like having meetings after the meeting, like, what did that mean? How come? We don't know what we don't know. And that's another lesson. Folks, we have been operating in a vacuum,
Correct.
politically, economically, you name it. We don't know what we don't know. And I'm
Right.
so glad to see people asking the right questions and putting their foot down and entering meetings that they weren't invited to, because decisions are being made about our community that we
Right.
are not being asked to participate in.
Correct. So TJ Johnson say, "Hi TJ, how are you?" That's another. She in this. She in this world. My sister is doing. She fight every minute. I love it. I love it. She said, "Dr. I is speaking the truth today. So motivational. I needed this today, and that's what we're here for."
I miss seeing you too.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you, Danielle, for showing us. Again, we are here for a support group. What we decided to do for July and August is to focus on women-owned businesses. And so we are going to continue to do some additional webinars and seminars just to focus on us, because we know that there's an additional set of issues on top of the issues that we already have. And we need to provide that support for each other in those additional times. Someone asked about LinkedIn and the work in progress. Our Facebook posts are continuously going on, and so is LinkedIn. If you're not registered with us, I mean, we do send out a daily blog called the We Care blog, and we have a ton of information that we send out. So if you're not registered with us, we'll put that in the chat box so you can get additional information. Are there any other questions that Iris, before we kind of wrap up here, that anyone else has? Give him a minute. Let's see. I will say this is definitely refreshing, because, you know, you just got to take that time, you know what I mean? And you've said so many great nuggets about how we need to take the time to research, and it's not a one-time thing. Understand our industry, our climate that's going around us. We got to get out of our shell to partner with each other, maybe think of some different strategies that we can pivot into. And then at the same time, you know, be realistic in where we are and what direction we need to go in. So is there any other questions? Let's see if I missed anybody. Someone say yes, Amazon. No, that, because I know we all sat there and said, well, we're gonna buy it today. But think, if you had your own e-commerce side, what you'd be willing to do and what you need to come to. That, you know, in the technology trend, it's going to continue. Business is going to be different. Remote work is going to be common. I see freelancing being a common thing. Real estate, I don't know, we're going back into some of this commercial property, and then what happens to that commercial property? You know, I was sitting somebody's in their garage trying to think about what we're going to do with all this stuff or where we are.
I wish I had an opportunity. You know, there could have been a Black Amazon, and it could have been Ebony Magazine. If I had been able to talk to them when they decided to shut down, that's what they had, everything going for to be the next Black Amazon. And somebody can do that. Somebody wealthy like Jay-Z or somebody like that can do that.
Well, there is actually one called We Buy Black. It's called WeBuyBlack.com. And they have a series of a young guy who promoted that a few years back. I remember seeing him at the Essence Festival, and now it's getting bigger and bigger where you can
Okay.
sell your items and your products
Mhm.
online. It's called We Buy Black. So there are platforms out there that are soaring now, you know, and maybe we didn't get it and we didn't catch on board before, but
I'm
now it
writing it
is.
down.
Yeah, and so we are gaining. And what I like about them, you'd be surprised, Black-owned business owners who have detergent, toothpaste,
Mm-hmm.
items you think that, you know, they wouldn't have owned, are on that platform. So yeah, they are, as Danielle said, yes, I follow them and register with them. Yes. They said, yes, We Buy Black is huge. So there are platforms that's out there. We just need to patronize.
Yes.
Yeah. So just for everybody else's knowledge that, you know, we have our webinars are posted on our website at cul.org/MBAC. And so therefore you can go back to other webinars that we have completed. This will be the recorded version. Once it's prepared, we'll put that on. And so this has been just a great time. Dr. Cooper, I appreciate you always. She has been a mentor of mine, have really gotten me entrenched in the trenches of learning more about entrepreneurship, where it was teaching at Columbus State or Franklin University, and kind of encouraged me to stay in this space. And you're right, until you said it today, I have the same feeling. I love being around entrepreneurs. They have that innovative, creative mindset, and they're just so energetic to be around. I didn't know that was one of my, that is
That's
it.
called an empath. An empath. I get my joy from other people. And
Right.
when they're down, I'm down. But when they're exciting, they hit a home run, that's when I'm happy. And so that's why we're in this business, I think.
Yeah, and I get so excited when someone comes up with an idea and to see it from beginning stages to fruition and when they actually launch. I just love being a part of that whole experience. And that's why we're here, you guys. So if you need to contact us anytime, feel free. If you have any general emails or need to reach us, please reach out to mbac@cul.org. And we'll be happy to help you at any time. Unfortunately, we are at the end of our webinar session with Dr. Cooper. And again, just ask Iris. So Iris, how can we get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me at JustAskIris.com. And you can call me if you want to at 614-394-3716.
All righty.
Mm-hmm.
One more time for the phone number, 614.
614-394-3716. That is my direct line for all my sisters. Now, other folks don't have that number, but my sisters have it.
All righty. All right, you guys, we're going to enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Try to keep your head up. And again, if you have any questions for us, contact us at mbac@cul.org. And we look forward to seeing you guys for our next webinar. Take care.